Hello everybody and welcome to the playthrough for Rookie Division with Various Wind, here for the Wilderness Tournament in Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and before we start, make sure that you do hit that thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. You can get the Ultimate Tournament Guide for Pro Expert and or Master, or the exclusive Tour Text Guides by going to patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link directly in the description down below. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, we are going to play just straightforward here on the fairway. Why is that when there is such an open fairway on the right? It's because when you do play par 4 or par 5 in Golf Clash, playing a linear way towards the hole, it's always going to be easier to drop the second shot, because you're going to be able to rely on your yardage on your drive, which you cannot really do if you go on the right hand side. I'm using 2 bars of side spin. I'm using somewhere between 2 to 3 bars of backspin. I'm aiming directly on the fairway in max distance with my extra mile. Max plus 20, so we do play downhill, and that means that we then are over adjusting our shot to compensate for the wind pushing a little bit more than normal. 300 yards is exactly what we're aiming for, and that's going to leave us up with playing with a short iron towards the pin. When you do play with lower level clubs like I'm doing here, I would recommend to go directly on the fairway to bounce towards the pin, because we won't be having the stats needed to play for a rough bump, which is the more common way to attacking this hole if you do have advanced level clubs, meaning that you do have at least 5 bars of topspin, which is something we are nowhere near of when it comes to our Thorn level 4. 10% elevation. It's very important that you move your club to minimum distance, then up to maximum distance, trying to judge what type of club distance you have, because if you do that, you will be able to make an educated guess, and therefore have a much greater chance to make an eagle on this hole. If you don't move to min and max to try to make an educated guess, it will only be a guess, and that's way worse than making an educated guess here on hole number 1. For hole number 2, I do decide to show you an aggressive line, because I think this line is such a massive value compared to just bouncing on the fairway. We're gonna go for a rough bump, and this rough bump is a very consistent way of getting the ball to drop, and we're going to use 3 backspin, 1 right spin, top of the yellow ring to be just by the edge of the rough line. Adjustment here is going to be minimum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and I'm using a navigator ball. The reason I'm using a navigator ball is to get the wind resistance 2, so I can, without any issues, have no problem, so to speak, adjust for the wind. Once we have done that, we pull back half a ring in line with the ball guideline, or in line with the tee box. Hit perfect, and the ball will hit the rough and roll down, and will, many of the cases, drop for an hole in 1. I know this is an aggressive line, but sometimes we need to be a little bit more aggressive to be able to give an edge against our opponents. For the first par 5 of the Sequoia Creek, we go to hole number 3, and if we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, I would recommend to play with the quarterback. Tailwind, 1 topspin, 2 right spin, ball guide line straight down the fairway. If we do have a crosswind, I would go 2 bars of topspin, and if I would be having a headwind, I would change to an extra mile and go with 3 bars of topspin instead. The reason I would change to the extra mile is to make sure that I don't have to use any overpower. Max plus 20 is the adjustment, and then we're gonna try to hit perfect. We're looking to get this ball to be as close to the rough line at the top possible. The closer we are, the easier it's going to be on the second shot. And this shot here is absolutely perfect. We do have room, but obviously, again, we could have got a couple of more yardage, but it's definitely fine. Second shot, now we're playing this one only for an eagle. Albatross is very difficult to get here, especially when we do play with free-to-play balls and obviously lower level clubs. So ball guideline, we add the spin, is what I want to start with to say. 2 left spin and then 6 top spin. The second bounce should be almost halfway into the rough there. I think that's very important to have in mind, because if you're aiming with the second bounce even higher up, you may risk missing the rough, or you may just roll too fast and you roll over the green. And that's the same if you aim it short, you might not even roll onto the green. Max plus 10 is what I'm using in terms of elevation. Make sure to hit perfect when you do play with a low level accuracy club like the big dog. But we hit the rough, the ball rolls down, and we got it close, but a great right, and we still missed left. So again, we maybe weren't that close, but in the end, I will take it all day and every day. On hole number 4, we are going to use our sniper, and we are going to use a quasar. And here I would say we need to have a sniper level 6 plus to be able to play this shot. I'm going to demonstrate this shot with a sniper level 10 to show you how much of an advantage it is to play with sniper level 7 or better, as it do have the fully developed ball guideline. But if you don't have the sniper level 7 or better, it's going to become a guesswork on how the ball guideline is actually aiming, because we don't then know that, because we don't have the 4.5 ball guideline as we do have here. Max plus 10 is what I'm adjusting. I'm using left spin, I'm using back spin. You can see we're coming close to hole, unfortunately not close enough to get it to drop, but hole number 4 offers a great way of getting at least close. But then we in the end will, what can I say, then in the end we will have a very good chance for an hole in one. On hole number 5, here I would say there is 2 ways of attacking this hole here, and that is basically based on how aggressive you want to be, and also how what type of club levels you do have on especially your apocalypse. So what I'm doing here now, as you can see, is that I'm trying to go through the trees. This is an aggressive line, but as I don't have the possibility to curl around the tree with extra mile, this is the best I can do in a scenario like this. And the idea here, obviously, with this drive is to get as far down the fairway possible, and if we are lucky, we're gonna be on green. When it comes to this type of shot, we want to use a power 3 ball. But if we don't feel that we do want to push it as hard as I'm doing here, we want to just take it easy and play with a power 2 ball instead. But if we do, we are going to find ourselves playing with a long iron or a short iron towards the pin from distance way before the green. So obviously this is what you are somewhat thinking about, or at least the question you want to ask yourself. Would you want to take the much greater risk, but where the reward is that you are so close to green that the eagle is somewhat locked in already? Or do you feel that the risk is too great to hit the trees or just do any other mistake as you're using overpower and curl, then that you will maybe be better off by laying up and still have a safe birdie and a chance for an eagle? You are the one to decide that based on what you have as balls and clubs and stuff. And obviously, if you do play with a power 5 ball, the overpower will be reduced to almost complete minimum. So that there is a way to come around and make it even easier. But here in this playthrough, we focus on those balls that you can win in free chest and stuff like that. I think that's very important to have in mind. Max plus 10 for the drive always. 10% elevation for the second shot if you lay up. If you do play by the green, make just minor adjustments and then hit perfect and get that ball to drop. Again, you decide which way to play. I wanted to display and talk to you about the 2 different outcomes that will be a possibility here on hole 5. Hole number 6 is probably the toughest of the par 5s that we do have of the Sequoia Creek, especially if we do play from front tee, because there is, there is obviously an easy way here with an upgraded driver to get over to the second fairway, but the issue we have if we go too far on that fairway is that we will be covered by one of the Sequoia trees, and that's obviously not helpful at all. So what I'm doing here, I'm using the quarterback. I do have it in a very high level, and that's why I'm using it. You can play the same shot with a lower level extra mile or Thor's hammer or an Apocalypse, but when it comes to quarterback, this shot is only possible if you do play with quarterback level 9 or better. The idea here is to have the first bounce on the fairway, second bounce into the rough to roll out on the final fairway. Medium distance with a 20% over adjustment is what we're playing, and I'm using a Titan ball. Not so much that we need it for the drive when it comes to the Titan ball, but for the second shot. You can see that even if I play with Sniper level 10, and that's why I'm showing you this as well with Sniper, is that even with Sniper level 10, we will have problems with power. So what I recommend is to play with the Big Dog, which do have 180 yards very early in its levels, and that extra power compared to the Sniper's 172 will be extremely helpful for this shot, because now when I do have the Sniper here, I only play this one down towards the green to just lock in the eagle. I'm not really focusing on the Albatross because I'm out of range. But if you do have the Big Dog, you can attack the pin and actually give yourself an Albatross attempt, which once again I didn't. 10% elevation, and it will generally be max distance with the second shot. Hole 6, very tough. Eagle is definitely the score that will be the general one here. On hole number 7, I would recommend to play with a Titan if we do have tailwind or crosswind. That would make us have a possibility to go directly over to the second fairway. If we do have a headwind, there is not really a need for a power 3 ball. Then we can back up and play before the first rough and play with a power 2 ball or even a power 1 ball instead. But if this opportunity arises where we do have the possibility to go over the rough, then we need to take it, because the drive will then become much simpler than it would be otherwise. Max plus 20 is what I'm adjusting with my extra mile, and you can see that I did after adjustment I did push up the max. I will always in some cases, not always, I will in some cases use overpower as well to make sure that I will clear the rough. Now for the second shot, we are using our short iron towards the pin, and here, as I talked to you about on hole number 1, it's very important that you do go to minimum distance, then to maximum distance, to try to judge what type of club distance you have. That will make it easier for you to make an educated guess, and therefore have a much better chance to get this ball to drop. If you do play with low level clubs like I'm doing here, make sure that you leave the ball guidelines short of pin, because if you don't, then you risk coming in too hot, hit the pin and bounce out. We have all done it, and that's the tough part by using lower level clubs. If you do play with a Thorn level 8, then you will have a ball guideline that is sufficient enough to aim directly to the hole, and then you won't be having that problem. Getting this ball to drop on the right side cup is obviously not center cup, but who cares? A drop is a drop, and I will take an eagle on hole number 7 all day and every day. Hole number 8, and I would say that this has so many bumps that it's going to be close to impossible to find a line that's going to be consistent all the time. Obviously, we do have a chance though, because it is an open way towards the pin. I would like us to start with our Sniper. I'm not using any spin in this scenario whatsoever, and we do play at absolute minimum distance line. So make sure that you do pack a club called the backbone to make sure that you're not gonna, move back and forth from the long iron to the wood club. So if you're having a long iron that is a blue club, like has that blue card around it, then you will find that minimum distance line in an easier way. Minimum distance plus 10. Navigator is the ball to just to reduce the wind a little bit more, and then we roll, and we're getting this one very close for a drop here on hole number 8. But as on the other two par 3s, it's gonna be tough to get something to drop on them. For hole number 9, I want us to play a line that is maybe not as familiar to you that it is for myself. And that is because I always look for situations where we can avoid going with curl on specific drives, because the thing we want here is to get the ball out on the fairway, on this fairway that you can see that I'm aiming for now. And we can do that in two ways. We can either use a club with a lot of curl and curl a lot to the left to bounce over to that fairway, or we can use the rough as a first bounce to roll out on the fairway. And I value bouncing into the rough way more than going with curl, because I have a better consistency with this type of play. I also have more control, as I don't have a second bounce to actually adjust for, as there is no wind effect on that bounce. 4.5 bar topspin, 2 bars of left spin. This shot can be played with lower level extra miles, and I want us to use a Titan in this case. This shot is definitely easier in crosswind and in tailwind. If you do have headwind, have in mind that you may need some overpower. Second shot, we're going to play with the sniper if possible. I understand that with lower level sniper, this shot becomes way harder than what it would be if you do have an upgraded sniper like in level 8, 9 and 10. Basically for two reasons. Power is one, where we don't have that much power on sniper level 6 here. Also the ball guideline. The ball guideline is 4.5 when it comes to sniper level 7 or better, which obviously is super duper helpful. I don't see this to be a very likely drop. There is a chance, obviously, as always, nothing is impossible, but there's a lot of things that needs to go correct here for this to be going into the hole and go in our way. 10% elevation, max distance is what I'm using. I'm using topspin to have the second bounce above the rough, and then to use the downhill slope and roll towards the pin. We're getting close, and that's good enough for now at least. We want to maybe get a little bit closer when we do play it in the tournament. Hole number 9, tough albatross, but should always be a safe eagle. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division with various win for the Wilderness Tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Make sure you get the ultimate tournament guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link directly in the description down below. Once again, thank you and good luck in your Golf Clash game.